Hey there, we are live doing our training with John Amaral. He is an energy healer and he works with a lot of entrepreneurs and celebrities. He works with Tony Robbins, and he's going to be sharing with us about how high performers can be also happy and fulfilled. And we're going to add, I'm just adding him now. So if you are an entrepreneur or an athlete or an artist, this is
right. Yes, we made it.
I know.
So that was an interesting little journey getting on here.
Exactly.
But I'm here.
So I'm actually not going to talk very much because it's super echoey on my end because the connection is kind of strange, but I think it's okay for you. You just.
So where are we at here, though? As far as are people just joining? Did whatever I talked about before I got cut off before get scrapped? Where do you want me to start?
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And thank you for inviting me on here. So, okay, a little bit of background about me very quickly. I'm licensed as a chiropractor. It's been 25 years that I've been practicing and working with people. I had a practice for 20 years that I sold recently. And for the past about 13 years, I've been traveling around the world working with Tony Robbins. And the past decade, I started working more and more with I would say very high-end, private clientele, entrepreneurs at some of them at the billionaire level, also celebrities and many well-known artists, entertainers, thought leaders, and so I have at this point now I have a very curated kind of practice where I don't have a location that people come to, but I'll go to events and I'll work with people behind the scenes. My own events called Body Center Leadership, and then I do events around the world with small groups. And so I've really kind of created my ultimate lifestyle because I wanted to do something that was going to be, I wanted to go to locations that I wanted to go to. I wanted to work with people that I wanted to work with and was inspired and passionate about working with. And I wanted to do it sort of on my terms in the way that I wanted to. And so I was able to, I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be able to create that through a lot of visualizing, hard work, and just working at it for many, many years, 25 years. So I've had many mystical experiences. I started out as an athlete, very high level achiever, and yet I was disconnected on the inside. So I really wasn't aware of this sort of the subtlety of the inner world, my emotions, what I was feeling, what was going on. And everything was being projected out into the outer world. So my experience was very much of a kind of mechanical, physical world. And I was not connected to any kind of real spirituality. And through the process of this kind of work that I have been doing, many of you know through the Tony Robbins community about Donnie Epstein, who's a real genius mentor that I studied with for almost 25 years. And then I kind of went off on my own direction in the past few years. Through that work, it really transformed me from the inside out. And it's like changing the very hardware through which you're experiencing reality. And as you upgrade it, as you change the inner workings of the very system that experiences reality, you change reality out there. And it's a quantum kind of universe that we live in where everything is energy and information and patterns and vibrations and resonance, and we're experiencing the world, quote unquote, out there, not a world that exists, but a world that we're participating with as we observe it. It's a wave of potentiality, of possibility that collapses as we observe it into a certain reality. So as I started to learn that and experience that and shift my own inner workings, then my ability to experience achievement and fulfillment really went off the charts, and it really starts with connection. It's being with what is first. And this is what I discovered in working with all these really high-level entrepreneurs and entertainers, and some of the A-list celebrities that they have every resource available to them, and yet sometimes they've been in deep suffering, just like every other human being goes into suffering at times. And I started to tease that apart and see, what are the patterns here? How do you have so much and then end up feeling so empty or voided out or lost, or like nothing's working when you have so much? And so I'm currently well into a book that I'm writing about the achiever's dilemma, which is about this paradox that we go through as achievers, wanting to create, wanting to get our vision out to the world, wanting to help people, wanting to add value, wanting to make the world a better place, and wanting to get stuff too, because we have a self-identity. We want to feed that. We want to feel significant. We want, to know that we're making a difference. And so there's stuff we want for us, and then there's stuff we want to give to the world, and it's a dance. And so how do you navigate that territory? How do you have achievement and at the same time experience a deep sense of connection and an okayness and an actual a joy actually for where you are, even if it's not where you think you should be? And that's really what the area that, and I bridge that with looking at how your subtle energy body and energy system, your physical structure of your body, your mind, your consciousness, how those all work together. And it's a nexus really of energy, consciousness, and matter that is unfolding as this, what we call life. And so I'm going to let you ask so you can direct me in ways that are going to maybe serve this group the best. If you have any questions for me, or you want to speak to a certain
I don't want to talk too much. Like I said, it's really echoey up here. But what was the turning point for you?
Well, I think the turning point for me was when I went into a practitioner that was a chiropractor 20-something years ago, and he was doing some subtle work with me, and I couldn't feel anything on my physical body because I was so numbed out. I had very severe allergies and eczema all over my body, and I was on inhalers as a child, and steroids because my body would inflame and react to everything. And I was also getting injections for about 7-8 years of like some kind of experimental drugs, basically to keep my body from reacting because I was so reactive to the environment. And so what happens is that your whole nervous system, your emotional system it's like a fluid system. Well, a woman named Candace Pert, who wrote Molecules of Emotion, talked in depth about this back in the probably 15 years ago. She came out with that book. But it was about starting. The turning point for me was starting to not understand intellectually, but feel in my body what it feels like to connect to what I'm actually experiencing and allow it to move through me, rather than keep avoiding it and negating it and trying to overcome it through more achievement. And when the focus is so much on the outer world, because you don't have a sense, in my case I didn't have a good sense of what was really going on in the inner world, you end up shelving things and kind of like putting them in the backpack, and you don't even know. So some people might not even know they're angry, or they're sad, or they're scared, or they're frustrated with something, and they don't actually register what they're feeling, and instead they just do more. And so for me, I started to wake up to feeling. And the way it happened for me was I walked out of this office. I didn't feel anything because my body was so checked out from really receiving and feeling information that when I walked out of the practitioner's office, what happened is I smelled these flowers, these jasmine flowers that were right outside the office, and I realized I hadn't smelled really and taken in like this beautiful, I hadn't smelled for, I think it had been most of my life, because my nervous system was so jacked up, really. It was such a fight or flight state that I was in go mode and I wasn't really receiving. And so I didn't physically feel sensations happening, but I felt this experience. I had this experience of smelling something so beautiful, and it really went in your olfactory system, goes deep into your limbic brain and deep into the core of your nervous system. And so my initial awakening was something as simple as smelling the world around me, and then from there I started to feel, it was like an unthawing from the inside out. And I started to feel emotions, and I started to feel old injuries that had been held and unintegrated and unprocessed, and those were physical. And then experiences that around my life and my journey with like my parents and friendships and things that had happened along the way in my life emotionally that I was feeling, but I didn't register them. And instead of stopping, connecting, being with the experience and letting it move through me, I just did more. I just stayed busy. I just added and stacked and stacked and stacked. And so it's a path of achievement, because you can use that. An achiever will say, well, what's the value sometimes of like feeling all this stuff? What's the value of spending time feeling the crap and feeling the sadness when what you want to do is, you want to feel good, you want to feel happy, you want to get in a great state. So why go to those places? And there's a paradox that I discovered. And when I discovered this paradox, it really was the turning point. And it's what I call now the paradox of change. A little hand on your shoulder. And I call it the paradox of change because you can't change something that you're not connected to and have it truly be a transformative outcome. You have to fully be with the experience you're having momentarily, fully integrate that into your being, and then move quickly forward. And it doesn't take a long time, but sometimes you have to just feel. You have to feel and recognize where you are. You have to discover where you are really. Not where you want to be, but where you really are, and that's always anchored in your body. It's always going to be reflected in your breathing patterns, your energy state, your physical, symptoms, and the feedback your body's giving you. And rather than like avoiding it and pushing through, like if you sprained your ankle and then you want to run the marathon and you say, well, screw it, I'm gonna achieve this, I'm gonna override this, and I'm gonna tape it up, and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna make it happen no matter what. Yes, you will achieve, and there's times when you're going to make the breakthrough in that way in the physical world. You kind of just say, all right, I got to suck this up. But as a long-term strategy, it's devastating, because it's like whatever you achieve is going to have flaws in the overall system, because there's parts of you that you shelved or put away or hid or avoided or overrode, and eventually it all catches up to you, because it's an integrated system. You're connected to the whole universe. Everything is one. So whatever you think you're hiding away from yourself and others, it's popping up somewhere else, and it will ultimately be there in your awareness at some point, whether it's through physical symptoms that lay you out or a relationship thing that happens and then finally it's discovered. It's all going to sort of come out, hopefully, which is because it's the worst. What I've seen in working with people is the people that have achieved incredible success, and they have done it on the foundation of disconnection and of avoidance, and they ultimately are suffering, and they're looking around and they're like, why is it everything feel amazing? I have everything that I wanted, but why do I feel empty or lost or hopeless or sad or depressed or anxious? And so I've come to find that we have to start with connection. And if you build on top of connection, then everything you're building actually is integrated in your being. So you project out into the world, a world that is an integrated world, that things happen and things flow rather than you efforting and driving and striving. It actually just starts unfolding in this beautiful way. So I'm so in everything that I'm doing, I'm always inviting someone to come into more connection. And I do it through your body and connecting to the energy in your physical body itself, and the energy in the body around you, which is there's a whole subtle energy system and energy body that is part of your dynamic relationship to the environment. It can be measured, just like the field, the energy field, the electromagnetic measurement that you can take from the heart can be measured many feet from the body with instrumentation. It can be just about 5 yards out from the body, and so these fields of influence in us and around us that are energetic and not just physical on a subtle level are really what's running the show. And so a lot of the work that I do is to help people start to connect to that energy behind the scenes in a way. It's like if you have a magnet, you're moving about pieces of metal, you're going to exert a field, and that field's going to move the physical world around. Rather than you have to go in and move every little piece, you can just go to the field and say, all right, how do we shift something in this field? And then we'll see an outcome shift. So my turning point, going back to where it was the first waking up to the fact that I can feel I'm a sentient being. There's experience that I can have in the inner world. And as you do that, you kind of unfreeze. You move out of vigilance. You unfreeze. You open up. Energy flowing. And now you can feel. And now there's also this movement from density of material, 3D matter, to a more subtle, dynamic, changing, fluid energy flow, which then is a totally different operational state, and it's a totally different experience of reality. And flow has along with it a sense of ease. And achievement can have ease. You don't have to, you can effort and struggle and accomplish things, but it's more linear. But when you're in flow, it's exponential and it's instantaneous. And so I would prefer, and I think most people probably tuned in here would prefer, to have exponential growth and expansion with a lot of ease rather than a lot of effort and struggle and striving and not much, progress. So,
and do you have any tips on how people can get into that flow?
Yes. Lots and lots. Awesome. So let's start with the amount of time that we have here. I want to start with just like if we just look at energy and how energy works, just the physics of it. If you have a glass of water and that water is in a liquid state at room temperature, if you raise the energy in that glass with heat, right, we apply energy to it, it hits a certain threshold, which is in this case is going to be 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to boil. At that boiling point, the form of water becomes steam. It actually changes to vapor. If you drop that by removing energy from the system, removing energy, taking energy away by putting it in the freezer, you're pulling heat energy out, then the molecular structure of water is still there, H2O, but it at 32 Fahrenheit, it actually transforms into a different form, which is a solid. So at these energy thresholds, the form of reality, the material reality we're experiencing actually shifts. And so when we actually recognize that everything is about how much energy is available, that's going to determine what kind of form our life takes. So if you're in a high elevated energy state, you're going to be experiencing one reality on the physical level. If you're in a lower energy state, you're going to experience a different reality. And you're going to have different thoughts. You're going to have different emotions. You're going to have different people come into your life. There are going to be different situations that arise. And it's dependent on the energy available. So what we want to do, and the tip that we'll start with, is we want to make sure we have as much energy available to us to use, to create with, as possible. And if you're frozen, then you're going to have a more static, kind of locked up, dense experience of the material world, and things like even a symptom or a disease process or a relationship or a financial barrier or something will exist at that level because it feels solid when the energy drops down to this level of like the freezing point. When you start elevating energy, suddenly the thing that seems so solid now seems it gets more fluid, it gets more liquid. And then you raise the energy up and suddenly it's more vaporous, and suddenly it's not even there. It's not a thing at all. It's just space and energy and possibility. So the first tip is going to be how do we raise the energy that's different than doing the things that most people are familiar with, like Qigong, chiropractic, acupuncture, meditation, yoga, Pilates, homeopathy, all these different ways that we can like work with the system. They're all awesome, but they don't necessarily, doing those things and doing all the right things does not necessarily mean you are accessing all the energy that you have available to you, because you could have parts of you that are out of awareness and they're bound up and locked up and tucked away, and you don't even know. It's like having apps open on your iPhone that you don't know are open, and they're sucking energy, but you don't know they're sucking energy until you go to that little page and you start opening it up, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's 27 apps going on. That's why my battery is getting sucked. So we want to bring those things that are off the radar into our awareness, and that will gain energy, because awareness in and of itself activates transformation without even doing anything. It's part of this paradox. You bring it into awareness, you feel something, and by feeling it and being fully present and connected with it, it already is changing. So first step is going to be like, in a way, do the scan and see, do we have apps open? Do we have apps open that we didn't even know are running? And do we have apps that we know are running that we can either use or shut down? Like, if it's not, if something's not working, then let's see what we can do. We can use our achiever hat, to make a change. But we don't want to try to change and try to do something when we're not connected, and we're not even aware of what programs are running. So in the body, the tip that we'll start with is like a scan. So we're going to do like when you start up your computer, every time you start up your computer, it takes a moment, because it's running through all the systems and checking for any bugs, any glitches, and then it's going to bring that up on the screen now that it's already sort of in the central computer sorted things out. And now you're going to deal with a system that has already been sort of assessed. So the assessment, what we can do is just take our hands and use them almost like a stethoscope. And you're receiving. So if you look at the palms of your hand and you imagine like a circle in the middle of your hands about the size of a silver dollar, nobody really uses silver dollars or coins anymore, but it's the size of a pretend Bitcoin, like whatever, about a couple inches. And that becomes the receiving apparatus. You can put your hands on your body and you can feel, by receiving feedback from your body with the sensation, the quality, the movement, the breath, and you can feel what's going on in that part of my body. So there are three areas that, and this comes out of an exercise that was originally developed by Donnie Epstein, which is called SRI, which is somato, meaning body, and breath integration. You're going to use focused attention on your body with touch, with assessment of the energy flow and assessment of the movement pattern there, and see, am I with my body here? So there are three main areas that we can do it. We can just do a quick scan, and we can say, let's put one hand over the other and put it over the upper chest area just below the collarbone. And you're going to just breathe gently into that area and lift into it and exhale out through your mouth. So it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. That's a grounding breath. It brings you more present, it brings you more connected to your body. When you feel and sense there, you're not trying to do anything. This is not an exercise to change something or do. It's an exercise to observe. How does it move? What's the breath? Look, is it easy? Is it labored? Is it hard? Does it feel present? Can I sink into this area, kind of snuggle into it? Or do I kind of skate across the surface? Do I feel anxiousness, agitation, irritation when I touch this part? Does it feel kind of hollow or empty? Does it feel numb? Or do I feel a sense of emotion there? Like, if some people will just touch this area and breathe, and they're like, I feel a sense of anxiousness or an overwhelm, or I feel a sense of like sadness, or you might touch that area and be like, oh my gosh, it feels really powerful and good. I feel connected, grounded, and I feel great here. Yeah. So you do that. And what you're noticing is three things. The breathing. Can the breathing go gently in through your nose, out through your mouth, and come under your hand and lift gently into that area? And does the energy, whatever energy is to you, a color, it could be a quality, a feeling, it could be like a density or like a plasma-like feeling, or it could be like a really spacious kind of flow. It could be, there's so many ways that we can experience energy. We're translating this like energy of the universe into a felt experience with our five senses. So you're going to feel, what is energy to you? Maybe it's a visual. So if it's visual for you, then you would like lift, breathe, visualize whatever energy would be flowing into there, and then out through the mouth. And then notice, does that part, do the ribs move? Can you sink in? Or do they hit like a point where it kind of stops? And then notice, can breath, energy, and movement flow together as one integrated flow, or do they all kind of like separate out where you can't stay present with all of them? What Epstein identified in this little exercise is that when you cannot connect, when you are disconnected or out of sync with your body, you will not be able to keep breath, energy, and movement all in your awareness at the same time as one flow. It'll be fragmented. And so we're going to do this in one area. So we'll do the upper chest, and then you move down and you just assess. And then you move down to the solar plexus, which is going to be right at the, right at the middle where that little bone is that sits over the sternum. And you do that there too with using both hands. You breathe in and out. And notice here, it's different here because it's a different kind of movement pattern in that part of the ribs. It's a different structure there. So it may not have the range of motion for some people, but it either is going to feel connected, at ease, at peace, in flow, or it's going to feel kind of fragmented. Or you might touch that part of your body and be like, wow, it feels like a foreign object. It doesn't even feel like my body. Wow. And all you're doing is taking inventory and looking and kind of, if you have a business, you're a business owner, and you don't look at you don't take inventory of your systems, and you don't see where's the marketing money going, what's the outcome of these. I'm wanting to generate these leads. I'm wanting to develop these. What's the conversion rate? Like, we're putting all this money and energy into this thing, but we're not getting the return. You need to take inventory. You need to actually check in and see. You have to see what you're dealing with. This is what we're doing with the body. We're taking inventory and seeing am I actually registering this part of my body? Am I with it? Or am I overriding it and checking out from it? And then we're going to go to the third area, and that's going to be down at the belly. So right over the belly button area. And we're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth there. And do that a few repetitions. And again, this is not a breathing exercise. So you're not trying to see how much breath you can pump into the area. Right. You're watching as the breath gently comes in through your nose and out through your mouth. You're watching how the energy flows, and you're watching how it moves, and you're seeing if you can coordinate those as one connected flow. And then what you're going to do is you're going to assess which of those areas was the most connected, which felt the easiest to you. Where did it feel? It doesn't have to feel good and yummy, but it might feel actually uncomfortable in a way, like emotionally, or you feel like, wow, it doesn't feel peaceful here, but you sink into it and you feel one with your body in that place. So when you do that, that's bringing you into presence and connection with what is, which may be a place of freedom and ease and flow and yumminess, and you're like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to connect to this part. It's like sinking. You're looking for the feeling of sinking into somebody else when you give them a hug and you wrap your arms around each other and you go, oh, this embrace, and you intimately connect, and somehow you're with that person. Versus the pat on the back hug, like, oh, it's great to see you, and it's that little tap, and you don't feel connected to that person. You feel like two separate beings having a relationship. Whereas when you come together like that, there's a unification of like a oneness that happens. And so we want to do that with our own body. And the value of doing this and assessing to see is that any part that is not connected, when you touch it, it feels like you kind of skate across the surface. You don't feel like you can really sink into that part of your body, or it doesn't move. That's a part that now is like an application that's open and running on your system that does not, it's energy that's bound up there that's keeping it from moving freely and keeping you from connecting. And it's that energy that is unintegrated that now is actually running a program that you're not actually with. And so it's actually got its own, in a way, agenda. Your body has an agenda to try to contain that information so you don't have to deal with it, to protect you. But it actually is really seeking your connection and your awareness that liberates it, and then it can be integrated back into your system, which is what healing's about and growth. You're taking the parts that were shoved away and hidden, and you're bringing them back on. But you got to know what's hidden and what's not. So this is a simple way to take a scan. And once you do that scan, you do about 3 or 4 repetitions in each area. You notice which is the most connected, and then you go to the place that's the most connected and the most free. Not the place that's the most tense or the most locked up or the most dense and hard to connect with, because that's energy and resource. That's like a little kid that's bound up and is like, nope, 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 nope. And you're not gonna have a very easy time taking a 2-year-old and having this like dynamic conversation with them about why this should happen. They're just like, so that's your part of your body that's just shut off and it's like held. And so you want to make sure you don't go directly into it. You want to go with it like a little kid. You'd be like, hey, let's kind of guide you to pay attention to something that's going to like open you up. And so you might kind of redirect them. And in this case, we're going to do it with our body. We're going to redirect our mind and our attention to the place that feels the most free. And so the place that feels most free for me right now is my upper chest, just above my heart. And I'm going to breathe into that area because it moves. It's free. There's energy flowing there. I'm going to breathe. And I'm going to let it out. And what we're going to do, as you let it out, you're going to make a sound for 3 to 5 seconds. And the reason we're going to make a sound is because sound activates a part of your brain that's really the limbic or emotional brain. And that's how emotion and the emotional system expresses energy. It's through movement and sound, but it has to be connected. It can't be like, I'm going to just touch this part of my body and be like, ah! You know, it has to be, I'm going to touch this part of my body, I'm going to connect with it and be with it, and I'm going to go, oh. That's the authentic sound that's there for me right now. It might be, for someone, it might be a really subtle sound like, It might be more of a, it's going to be a sound or a vibration that exactly matches like a tuning fork what the quality of energy is there. But if you're not connected, you can't make that sound because you don't have a reference for even what sound would vibrate the tuning fork. So that's why we want to pick one of the 3 areas that's the most connected. If none of those feel like they're connected, like you touch everywhere and you're like, I don't know, I feel like everywhere I touch, I feel like I can't connect. Go to your head and just put your hands like on your forehead or over your eyes and just breathe in and let it out. And imagine just coming down, like bringing your awareness into your brain and into the body and just feeling yourself kind of melting into the body. And that usually will ground you and bring you more present. And then you can go and start to touch those areas and see. Once you identify the place that's the most free, spend a little bit of time there, make a sound a few times, and it will actually let you go deeper in. It will increase the range, and it will let more energy begin to move. And then you can go to the next place and see about rechecking in and seeing if that changed the way that other place feels. So I'm going to go back to the most difficult place for me right now. Oops, I lost it. Was my solar plexus. And so when I go back after doing this area, making the sound, that feels good to make that. It opens up, it releases, I feel connected. Then I go to here. It's a little easier, but it still feels kind of vague to me. It doesn't feel like I'm sinking in, and it doesn't feel really connected. So I'm going to hold that area, and I'm going to do this declaration, and I'm going to say, right here I feel disconnected. Or sometimes I feel so disconnected. Or right here it feels like lost. Or right here I don't feel myself. And you just say that, so right here I feel disconnected. Take a breath in gently. As soon as I said that,
how does somebody know what to say?
Well, if you cannot feel a part of your body, or it feels like you're having an adversarial relationship, you're like, I'm going to move this part of my body and do this exercise, but it doesn't feel peaceful. You don't feel one with your body. You feel like you're now trying to achieve something, you achievers. Now you're trying to achieve this outcome. I'm going to do this exercise that John's talking about, and I'm going to make sure I feel connected. You're screwed already because your mind is now trying to do the thing to get the outcome of feeling better. Wipe that away. This is in the Chinese, in some of the Asian disciplines and practices, they call it Wu Wei, which is spelled W-U-W-E-I, and it's about connected action in the moment with no agenda for anything to be next. It's being fully present with what is, with no desire to change it, and in being fully present with what is, it opens like the secrets to the universe to you, because you're not trying to be somewhere else. You're not living in the concept or in the mind. You're really one with the body experience. And so in that, there's tremendous power. So when you don't feel connected, the best thing to do is just say, I don't feel connected. I feel disconnected. Just say it. Just declare it out loud. Right here, I feel disconnected. Just sit with it for about 2 seconds. You don't need to stay in that for a long time. You need to just acknowledge it. Then get your hands off that area and put them back to the place that feels the most connected, wherever that is. Take a breath in. Let it out. Let it release. And then go back to that area and investigate again and feel, without an agenda to change it or do something. Because if you try to like go to an area that feels disconnected and you try to do your achiever exercise, you will end up with pain and tension, because you're trying to change a part of you that you're not even connected to, which is the whole paradox of changing anything. Trying to change what you're not connected to before you're connected to it, and before you're allowing it to fully be what it is, leads to just more disconnection, and it leads you on a path of ultimately to suffering. So you're going to go to that place, you're going to just say, right here I feel disconnected, right here I feel nothing, right here I feel numb. Or you might go there and then you take your hands off, you go back to the place that feels the easiest, you make the sound again. You're remembering what it feels like and associating with what it feels like in this place that feels good and open. And then you go back to that other place and you take some of that presence and connection and you share it. And you're not doing anything to it. You're just going to say, I'm going to share some of this yummy, huggy, warm, connected flow. And it might not be yummy, huggy. It might be a sad feeling. You might go there and be like, oh. But in that sadness, when you really connect, there's freedom. There's freedom always in the experience of being present with what is without an agenda. So it's free flow, and then you take some of that, and you bring it to the other area. And then you just let it, imagine it kind of melting or slowly or just kind of oozing in. And if you feel a barrier or a sense there's a block there, or if the whole area feels solid or dense, or sometimes people will feel like it's like a balloon there, and they're almost coming up against like a rubber, they can't push into their body and they're trying to push. You want to envision something that would melt through or seep into that area effortlessly. Like, so a lot of times I'll say, what does that feel like there in that place that was less connected? And I'll say, oh, it feels dense, like metal or wood. It feels hard, like stone. And I'll say, well, just imagine molten lava just oozing into that area from this place that felt more connected. Fill it up. And imagine molten lava filling your hands, and then just bring that down to that other area or up wherever that is, and just like imagine it oozing in. No effort, or light, a certain color, or just a feeling or a tone or vibration. Like imagine it just penetrating in. And what will happen is you're not trying to change it. You're just wanting to bring a resource to the place that needs it. And as you allow it to flow in, you'll start to feel energy actually start to move. And some people will feel emotion come up. Some people will feel the body shake or vibrate. Some people will suddenly feel like energy moving to another part of their body, into their spine or down their legs or up into their head or throat, because you're taking energy that was encapsulated or held, and you're now bringing a resource to it so it can expand. And this is another part of the paradox. And I'm aware of time, so just guide me on our time here. But instead of trying to reduce or get rid of this energy that's bound up or try to make it go away so that we can get on and achieve and do, you want to actually do what may seem counterintuitive, and that's invite that energy to spread or expand. So you might be holding the area that was previously disconnected, and now you're starting to sink into it. And I'm inviting with breath, and I'm going to let it out, and I'm going to make the sound of that area, which is more like for 3 or 5 seconds. And then I'm going to invite and imagine and visualize it spreading. And as it spreads, imagine like ink dropped into a glass of water and it starts to spread. It's the part that was separate going back into the whole, which is, again, that's healing, that's wholeness. You're going from what was separate to allowing it to return. So I'd invite that energy to spread through my whole body and go wherever it needs to go to get reassimilated. And if you can do all 3 of those areas, the chest area, the solar plexus area, and the belly, and you can feel ultimately like each one of those is online, each one of those is moving, each one of those you can connect with, you will be integrated in a way that few people are walking around on this planet integrated. It's your heart, it's your solar plexus, your will, your lower abdomen, or, for women, it's in the area around your uterus and cervix. For men, it's connecting down into those lower chakras, the first and second, which is into the manifestation, creation. It's your sexuality and your creativity area. All three of those areas online and working together, integrated, is an incredibly powerful human being. So just that little exercise, that practice of checking in like that can be a way to assess, discover, and liberate a tremendous amount of energy that was held, locked away, being avoided, ignored, and not included. And suddenly you have so much more resource available to do your day. So I would say you can do that in the morning. Just do the scan, check in, see, am I online? Are all my apps, working here? And then you can go into your yoga, your stretching, your workouts, your whatever. But you're bringing your whole self to the plate rather than fragmented and trying to build something on top of a system that's actually unintegrated.
Yeah. I love that physical practice, connecting with the physical body, and tuning. When you're able to think like that, it does create a whole different experience of life.
It does.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I know you're probably getting feedback, but I can hear you totally fine. It's hard. It's processing that feedback. But yes, it does create a totally different experience of life, because the very system through which you're observing and allowing information to come in is receiving different feedback. And so your processing system now is more integrated. And so you will see and experience a different world out there. And it's not just a change in perspective. The body is actually, it's technically a liquid crystal, which is all the fascial tissue, all the fascia and the soft connective tissues that go through every part, your bones, your spine, the ligaments, the discs, the tissue of your heart, the tissue of your organs. It's all got this fascial connect. It's all made up of these collagen fibers and fascia, which energy can flow through it's the same kind of communication like your LCD screen. When you touch your screen, you do this and you can see a little ripple of energy go out from that LCD screen. It's because the LCD is a liquid crystal display. It's a semi-solid. It's a solid and a liquid sort of structure. And your body is that. So when you're tapping into this, you're tapping into the very printout or display of your inner world. This is the interface through which you're connecting. And energy in one area you can touch in your body, and you can have a global response, because every single cell is interconnected as a liquid crystal. It's intercommunicating. So you don't have to do an exercise that involves your whole body. You can take one fingertip and touch a part of your body and have access to the whole thing. And so this is a different way to start out your day than just do the calisthenics, do the exercise, do the thing where it's all kind of like using your body as a tool to drag behind your mind, versus let's get the system that we're observing through integrated first, and then we'll go into whatever we're doing in a connected way. It will totally change the way you do everything and experience everything, and you won't have that feeling of kind of gnawing anxiousness or a tension you can't shake, because you've already made the connection and found where that energy was stored, and then you've acknowledged it through saying, right here I feel disconnected, going to find the place that feels connected, opening and expanding that, bringing energy to the place that needs a resource, sharing it, letting it melt into that area, and then letting it expand. And suddenly you're not fragmented, it's separate, and you're one with your body and one with the energy in and around you. And now you're in this dynamic interplay with the environment, instead of you moving through as a separate little avatar, kind of moving through this already predetermined sort of world out there, which is really not how it works at all.
I'm thinking about you talk about connection a lot. Connection and physically. And I feel like we're high achievers. Our goal is contribution. And if you focus solely on the contribution, So this is a way for people to really connect and achieve what they want through that connection.
Yeah, and I think, the truth of what I've found is that, we need all those needs. I know everyone, a lot of people probably tuning in are in and around the Tony Robbins world, know about the 6 human needs. And,
Right.
yes, contribution is the benevolent, highest goal for love and connection and contribution. And we have to recognize that achievers really are driven primarily by significance, really in the beginning, especially because you're trying to make something of yourself. You're trying to be somebody. You're wanting to give and contribute and impact other people, but you're wanting to get something too. You're wanting to get hey, acknowledgement, I'm amazing. I'm capable. I'm a big deal, I'm worthy. I'm enough, all that stuff. So part of this connection is allowing yourself to be true with yourself and recognize that there's places where we check out of because we're actually feeling sad, we're feeling scared, we're feeling not enough, we're feeling hopeless, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling like I just can't do it. You put your hands there and you just go, God, it feels like I can't do it. Oh God. You breathe and you make the sound. Oh, and you don't want to make that sound. You're an achiever. You want to be like, yes, I'm doing this. And so by doing that, though, and going fully there, you are so present with what is that it is transformed. And so you're now no longer stacking achievement on top of avoidance of vulnerability, avoidance of being seen, avoidance of being found out, avoidance of feeling like you're not where you want to be, all those things, and you're just going into it and allowing yourself to fully merge. And what emerges out of that then is this incredible amount of true power and authenticity, which then people get attracted to because that's really where the world is. That whole thing of the charismatic leader who's just untouchable and can't be, and everyone's just sort of how do they do it, and then they just kind of direct everybody around and stuff. That's done. It's we want transparency. We want an interaction with people. We want to know the real, we don't want the curated Instagram. We want to see what's really going on in this person's life, right? So we got to do that with ourselves. And if we do that with ourselves and we don't gloss over the parts that don't feel comfortable and we delve into them briefly and go all the way there, we'll pop out the other side, an integrated human being, and then we don't have to avoid anything. And everything that's coming through us takes very little effort. We'll work harder than we ever worked, but it won't feel like effort because we're doing it truly from a place of being with it. And we might even say I'm doing this because I want this. It's okay to want something. I want more money. I want to create. I want to help people, but I want to make a crap load of money and buy this giant house. Whatever. Be real with what you want, right. And then actually what happens is you take a lot of the charge off wherever your patterns and your your unintegrated parts, where you have stories and beliefs and you have conditioning that says okay, it's got to be this way or that way, or you shouldn't have this, or you shouldn't have that. You got to actually investigate how that's linked into your body because you're holding all this in your physiology and your biology. And when you start doing that, you start unhooking and dismantling all the conditioning, and then you get to the real authentic expression of you as an expressed human being with all of the feelings that you have and the whole range. And to me, it's like you go from using that little 8-pack of Crayola crayons where you're trying to color in this picture and shade and everything, and someone just gives you the 64-pack, and then all of a sudden you have all these, new shades and colors and nuances, and there's so much power in that because you're free to express and create in ways that are much more dimensionalized. And if you don't keep adding dimensions and adding depth and adding discovery of these different parts of you, you will go kind of flat. And then it's like this flatland in your consciousness where you start doing more, you're working harder, you're trying to boil water without ever getting to 212 degrees. You're in this neutral kind of place, and that's the grind. That's when it starts feeling like a grind, and you're trying to manage and you're trying to make it through and you're trying to create, but you're not really in a creative place. You're in a reactive place because you're not freaking connected. Connected, it immediately puts you into novelty. It puts you into newness. It puts you into a sense of I'm in the moment, which in the moment's where all the epiphanies and the breakthroughs and all the creative juice comes. I've worked with people where literally they just like, boom, they connected and suddenly they had like the whole plan for the next 2 years of their business just drop in. Or they had, 2 days after they worked with me, they got $2 million that they needed to like fund this whole thing for their business, just like showed up. Someone said, oh yeah, no, I have this extra income that I want to put into invest with you, or whatever it is, because they opened up to new possibilities, which changed what can happen in the world out there.
That's awesome. It's like the connection relieves that pressure.
Yes. The connection.
I'm just picturing a balloon, like,
yes.
It's out.
Yeah. So when you're touching your body, you're going and you're feeling like you're kind of doing something to your body. It's like a balloon that's full of air that you're all on the outside of it. You're feeling around, you're pressing around, you're trying to like get, but what's inside of it is what you want to get to, which is really, in this case, in your body, it's energy. The body's not even solid. I mean, it's mostly energy. It's all energy, really. It's patterns of energy at the subatomic level. It's all energy. So you're dissociating or disconnecting from energy that's difficult to be with and feel, and then you're projecting out into the world and seeing the things that you're not able to connect with in other people. That's just sort of how it works. So as you're a more integrated human being, and you can sink through and you can go, oh, let me get to what's on the other side of that layer. And you kind of project your awareness through, or you bring molten lava, or you bring a color, and you just allow it and go, what would happen if I just allow this to kind of settle in? And suddenly you'll get access to something that was on the other side of an illusionary boundary or barrier that kept you from connecting. And right there is where the juice is. That's where the energy for change and transformation really lies. It could be just inside your body. It could be in the field around your body. But this is the interface of where you get access. It's like the touch screen to your whole system of how you access the cloud. You got to actually interface with it somehow, and the body is that. So that's where the greatest impact, really, I see in our life and the trajectory of our life is that level of connection. And you don't want to be, you want to be. I want to be. I want to be connected. I want to be one with my body. I want to feel everything. Is it comfortable to feel everything? Is it comfortable to actually be present with all of the roller coaster of feelings and qualities and things that happen in the course of achieving and creating and driving to make something more, to reach more people, to grow the business, to, be present with family, to serve other people, to, take care of the things I need to take care of, to make sure that I can give at the level that I want to give and serve that, and then always be developing and growing and wanting more and more and more, because that's just the nature of creativity. It's just to it's not to get necessarily more, but it's to create more. That's when we feel alive. And so you have to be in a way with whatever the air inside that balloon, you have to be in that, you have to be connected to that versus on the outside of it, or you're just kind of like a shell walking around and you're not really integrated. Because truthfully, there's no inside and outside. That's an illusion. It's just we're a bunch of cells that are really energy patterns that are all organized, and it's just we're energy all the way through. There's no in there and out there. It's all one. And once we realize that, and you feel it actually in your experience of your body, it changes the game altogether.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing all of that, wisdom and the tips. And I know you're writing the book pretty well. So can you talk a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so the book is about the achiever's dilemma, and it's about some of the things we're talking about, this paradox and what happens, what I've seen and what I've experienced, and then tips and ways to begin to work with, interact with your own body and your own energy system, so that you can have, massive achievement, and you can have the experience of connection and fulfillment, and you can have it all. And so that book will be, it'll be done. We're figuring about 3 months till the manuscript is done. And so by like April of 2019, it'll go to publishing, and so it'll be before summer for sure. And so that is that's something that I've been taking all my experience of 25 years of working with people and really putting that into a of a mini course in a way in how to approach it. And I'm excited because it's something that I've been wanting to share for a long time. And so I also I have this exercise that I went through with you on the call. I actually have a video for it that you can download on my website. That's johnamaral.com, and you just go. It's under. It's like, you know. Let's see. Maybe. Oh, I'm not on my computer. I'm actually on my phone with you. But it's under.
We'll put the link to
yeah,
it.
we can put a link to it in your on the Facebook Live, Facebook whatever app post live. But it'll take you through the steps. I explain this a little more in detail and some of the physiology behind what we're doing here. And I just take you through the 3 steps of connecting to these different 3 areas, focusing on breath, energy, movement. This is just a simple exercise. It's just step 1 of like a whole world. But it's the foundational thing that literally I do all the time. I'm doing it without even thinking about it now. It's an unconscious competency. I'm connecting with my body and I'm recognizing when I'm not connected. And my goal is to be constantly connected. And if I lose connection, then I'll guarantee you I'll be suffering instantly if I'm disconnected. So if I check out, you start to identify where do I disconnect? How do I check out? And what are the triggers? And then how do I reconnect? And so again, the book will be exploring that and going into that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having her, John. And we'll, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. And this is on your page to see questions that come up.
Beautiful. And we'll post. You'll post on there the link to on my site. There's 2 websites. I have johnamaral.com, which is kind of an in-process site right now. There's not a whole lot of content there. And then there's bodycenteredleadership.com, which is a little bit more about my program. And I got a lot more coming in 2019. So we're doing a whole everything. Everybody's always doing that, but we're constantly innovating and developing. So I have a bunch of new, and I'll have some online courses and things coming out in 2019 that'll be tied into the book as well. So I'll be taking people through, this process and opening up to new levels of energy and fulfillment and achievement. So again, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me.
Thanks so much, John, for being here, and see you guys soon, guys.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.